Hello, Bulldog family. My name is Cody. I'm going to be the host of the Bulldog Backfield this year, and today we have the esports team, and I'm here with Harrison and the coach Noah. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Harrison. I am an esport athlete.
And I'm Noah. I'm the head coach of the esports team here.
So for those fans and viewers that don't exactly know what esports is, can you guys, either one of you, just kind of give a brief rundown of what esports is?
Yeah, esports it's electronic sports. There's hand-eye coordination that goes into it. So that's when people when they ask, like, how is it a sport, you have hand-eye coordination.
I would say, yeah, there is a lot of hand-eye coordination to it, and that was actually going to be my next question. Is like, as an esport athlete, why would you be on this sports broadcast or sports podcast here?
Well, we're a sport. We're actually the fastest growing sport right now.
So why do you think within the past 3 to 5 years that esports has kind of blown up throughout multiple titles?
Well, you have certain games that just end up blowing things out. It truly started with games like Fortnite here that ended up having huge tournaments, and then it just slowly folded over into more games. You have Call of Duty. You have, what's another one?
League of Legends.
League of Legends. That's a big one. We have that one here. Rocket League's getting up there. Your actual sports games, Madden, 2K, MLB. So
I would say, yeah, I think this year was the first year that ESPN has actually hosted a sports tournament. They hosted two, I believe. They hosted the 2K Players Tournament and the MLB The Show Players Tournament. And with all this COVID stuff, they didn't really have much sports to air, so they went to the field of esports. So on the topic of COVID, has COVID really interrupted or affected the esports season thus far?
yes, and it has a lot, actually. I mean, when I was originally recruited, I was told we had 6 to 8 players here. That was including me. And then I got here, found out that the coach had actually left, and then Coach Noah comes in, takes over, and he's actually been very vocal towards me and my teammate that so there's only 2 guys here now because people have actually left either due to COVID reasons or due to just the coach not being here. But he's been very vocal to us about things that he's getting done for us, and I mean, I'm very thankful for this guy right here.
Yeah, I mean, I think COVID has affected everything, right? And so I think, as Harrison kind of said, there's been a lot of transition with COVID, and so we've been doing what we can to kind of respond and bounce back from it a little bit. But we're excited that hopefully kind of in the spring we'll get things rolling, and in the fall we'll kind of really kick off, and we've got a pretty good recruiting class coming in so far. So we'll see how it goes, but I think COVID has definitely kind of affected it so far.
I would say with any sport, really, I mean, the coach that recruits you, if he or she was to leave, I can only imagine how that would affect the players' influence on whether or not they would stay and kind of try out with the new coach, or if they would just kind of leave. So I can only imagine how that would affect it. Going into the recruiting for this upcoming season, since it kind of has been on delay, how has that really looked, kind of trying to recruit new players and kind of get them to come to Tennessee Wesleyan?
Well, first I was actually told that we weren't allowed to recruit people that were already on campus. And then when the other players that either opted out for their reasons, we finally the first time I actually got to meet Coach Noah here was through a Teams meeting. And I think he was just settling in here. He wasn't even actually here yet. He was still settling in, so he was busy, so we had to make it quick, and Donnie told us that if we could find people that were here on campus, then at that point we could. And then now he's also, again, been vocal with me, saying he actually has recruits that are in high school still. So
yeah, I mean, and right now there's kind of 2 different sides to recruiting, right? There's kind of recruiting current students at Tennessee Wesleyan. Harrison's kind of been taking a big load on that, and he's been doing an awesome job of trying to get guys in and seeing who's interested and seeing who we can kind of add to the current team. And then there's kind of incoming recruits as well that are current high school students, seeing what guys that we can kind of bring in now that are interested in esports. And right now, because it's a field that's just exploding, it's in some ways kind of makes my job easy because there's lots of people that want to come in and play, and there's not a ton of schools that have esports right now. I think that's going to change, but I think for us and our leadership saying, hey, we're going to kind of take this on the front end, it makes recruiting a lot easier because we're one of the few schools that have it. There's a lot of kids that want to play, and so we're just trying to bring them in, and we're a new program. Like, so we're looking for people that are willing to kind of come in and lead and willing to kind of be self-sufficient and be involved and be a good teammate, because any team that you're a part of, like, to really be successful in that, it's not about you in so many ways, right? So I think for us, that's kind of on the front end, we're trying to vet that and make sure that we're bringing in people that have that team first mentality. And I think the people that have that are going to be most successful here. But yeah, I mean, recruiting has been fun because it's such a new field, and there's so much excitement surrounding it right now that it's made it easy in some ways to recruit and to talk to people about it and just say, this is what we have to offer. And if you want in, great. Like, we'd love to have you. We're going to take care of you. And if this isn't the place for you, that's okay too. So that's kind of where we're at with recruiting.
I would say, I know I have been following at least esports for about a decade now. My favorite game is Call of Duty, and it's crazy to see, like, a lot of people would just play games for fun growing up, but if you actually look into esports and certain rosters and games, I mean, one of my favorite players, Seth Abner, Scumpy, professional Call of Duty player, his first Call of Duty tournament was in Black Ops 1, and he was 16 years old. And, I mean, he's been in the Call of Duty scene for almost over a decade now, and he's still going strong and still loves playing it. But, I mean, he started out in high school, and then I believe it was last year, maybe the year before last, the first big Fortnite tournament that was, like, televised and whatnot. The person that won that, Booga, he was 16 years old, and he won $3 million. It's crazy to think about. In high school, you have these kids that love playing video games, but they don't necessarily realize that you can actually make a living out of this. And not only just the money aspect of it, just how fun it is to just play video games for a living. It's crazy. And then with certain platforms like Twitch and YouTube now that are big into the streaming aspect of it, you have so many young kids that are already building their own following just with these streaming services. So like you said, being self-sufficient and trying to be that leader is, I mean, you look at kids now in high school, and some of them are already doing that. So it is, it's good to see that esports is kind of taking that jump. Like I said, I watched Call of Duty as my esport that I follow the most. Do either of you guys watch a certain game with esports?
Oh, I will. If they have it, I'm watching it. If it's whether it's Call of Duty, Apex, I don't watch Fortnite. I'll be real honest. I do not watch Fortnite. I'm sorry. I don't believe in the building a wall in 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's rough.
But yeah, definitely Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is very intense, and it's exciting to watch because I grew up playing that game as well. And I mean, you can get into some serious arguments with people over that game.
Oh yeah, it's I think with Call of Duty as an organization, whether it's Activision or Treyarch, because they kind of bounce back and forth with developing the games, I feel like both are really engaged with the community. So I feel like their engagement, and especially listening to the community, I feel like that's what's kind of helped at least Call of Duty grow their esports aspect. And then you have a bunch of newer games like Valorant and Fortnite within the last few years that are trying to kind of take the same approach as Call of Duty, League of Legends, Dota, other games that have been in the esports aspect for a long time. So how long have you actually been gaming, Harrison?
Let's see. I remember playing on the original Xbox, Madden 04, playing as the Seattle Seahawks, just running the ball with Sean Alexander. Just running the ball. And that actually ended up growing up even more into my love of the sport of football. But it also developed my love for playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just expanded through there.
So funny you ask. My background actually is not in gaming. You may or may not be able to tell that. I don't know. But my background is in soccer. And so I kind of came in as the assistant women's coach here and kind of doubled down on esports as well, for a couple of reasons. I've had experience kind of starting a number of clubs in a couple of different places, and so I've kind of had experience with kind of getting programs off the ground and running and leading some of those things. And so for me, taking on something like esports was really exciting and interesting to me because it's new, it's exciting, and they needed somebody to just come in and kind of say, this is where we're going. And I love that about it. So really, like, I'm in a position where they're doing a lot of this is kind of where we're going, and I'm just helping guide. Like, I'm really just in a position of saying, this is kind of what we're going to do, and this is how I'm going to help provide things for you. But so for me, I just kind of watch it from a recruiting perspective. I don't really have a ton of time playing because I'm kind of going both ends, right? I'm coaching with the women's soccer team and esports as well. And I have a family, so it's quite a bit on my plate at the moment. So I don't have like a ton of time to just kind of hang out and play. But yeah, that's kind of where I am, and a little bit of background of kind of how I got plugged in here. But I'm super excited for the opportunity to help lead some of these guys and use esports as a platform to continue to change their lives and help them be sent out from Tennessee Wesleyan and be ready for what everybody calls the real world, right? And so I'm excited to be able to kind of use the platform of esports to be able to do some of that.
I know my gaming, I started on the original Xbox and the original PlayStation as well, but what kind of pushed my gaming as an early child is I have 2 older siblings. So not only did I start out playing games just for fun, I kind of went back and played some of the older systems like the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64. So some of my favorite games growing up were Super Mario World, and then there was actually it was like a Bassmasters Classic game on there, and you were just in like a little 2D boat, and you dropped a lure in, and you could just see the fish swimming to it, and you just tried to catch the biggest fish for the tournament. But moving on from that, some of my favorite games of all time is I love MW3 Call of Duty, Fable 3 on the Xbox 360. I put so much time into that game. Elder Scrolls Skyrim are just a few of the other ones. So what are some of your favorite games that you've grown up playing throughout the years?
Throughout the years, I'm going to go back to the oldest thing that I've played on, the Nintendo 64. Super Mario Kart. That game was awesome. So was Super Mario World. That game was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And then to continue with that was 007 GoldenEye. That game was always fun to play. I always set up the map perfectly, played the Golden Gun mode, and would just run around. And my brother could never find me, but I always knew where he was.
I would say I actually believe the GoldenEye 007 was the first-person shooter game I ever played, which kind of, I guess, looking back on it, that kind of propelled me to start playing those games like Call of Duty that I just absolutely love now. But going from there, how do you think esports can kind of continue to keep pushing forward and continue to thrive as a whole?
I mean, that's just based off of us, how well we perform, and us getting more guys in, and the more people we have, the better, because now we can have it. I was already able to recruit. He told me the first time we had a meeting, he told me that if we needed anything, we text him, and he would go to bat for us, and he's already done that for me already. So he has my back, I have his back. He got a game added for me, and immediately, as soon as I told my 2 friends, they immediately hopped on board. I sent them his information. They contacted him. So the more people we have is better, because then we can have people for certain games. As of right now, we have it. I want it set up to where everybody have to play everything, because you got to be able, in case of COVID still being around, which it probably will be, you got to have people that if somebody for some reason drops because of COVID, then we can have somebody come in and fill that spot.
So before we leave real quick, what games do we have here at the university for esports?
We have Rocket League, League of Legends, Overwatch, and he just added Apex Legends.
I think going along with that too, just kind of for everybody, is anytime that there's games that have interest and people want to add them, like, we're 100% open to adding them. Those are just kind of the games as of right now that we had the most interest in, and from a recruiting perspective had the most kind of numbers. And so that's kind of why we chose those games. But if there's other games that people are saying, hey, I want these games, like, we're 100% open to saying, yeah, come on. Because I think that kind of goes back to your question of like, how do we keep growing? I think from a leadership side of things, we've got to be open-minded to what they want or what they need and what they're attracted to. And I think so far, the leadership above me and myself, like we've tried to make sure that we're doing a good job of that and listening to what they want and listening to what's going to be attractive for them. And we're trying to take those on board and do everything we can to make sure that we're serving them as our student athletes, because without them, we don't have an esports team, right? And so I think that's a big proponent of how do we continue to grow, is we're making sure that we're listening to what they want and trying to make sure that we're providing what they need for that.
Well, I wish the best for you guys for this upcoming year and your recruiting and just kind of the new foundation of this new team and for the campus. It's been a pleasure having you guys. Noah, Harrison, thank you. That's going to be all for this week, Bulldog family, and we will see you next week.